Welcome to Every Night is Game Night, where two busy dads get games to the table by any means necessary. Check us out, along with other great podcasts, at dicetowernetwork.com.
Every Night is Game Night, episode 93, Dueling Top 10s, Euros versus Co-ops. Hey everybody, welcome back to Every Night is Game Night. This is Anthony, once again with Jason.
Yo, my peoples, what's up?
All right, we got a good old-fashioned duel this week, right?
Fire and ice, we're going back and forth.
Yeah, let's do it, except I think I'm outnumbered, so I don't know.
You certainly are, my man. Okay, so today's episode, we don't do a lot of top 10s on this list, but you know what? This episode came out as a little bit of a special thing. If you've been paying attention to my Twitter feed at ENGN_podcast, you'll know that we've been posting me and the Broken Meeple Luke Hector. We just finished our top 100 co-op games. If we're gonna do a top list, we're gonna go all the way. So we went through our top 100 list, and we figured this would be a really good time to share it with you. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been sharing those episodes in podcast form, just in case you wanted to listen to it. That's just extra content. But I wanted to put a special spotlight on the top 10 co-op list from that top 100. So this audio is available on Luke's feed as the top 10 list. So it's going to be the same thing. So we're just going to, section off. Me and Luke are going to go back and forth. But then I said, you know what? Let's involve my friend Anthony. Anthony, I said, you know what? I want to hear your top 10 co-ops. What's that all about? And Anthony said, no.
Hey, I like at least 10 co-ops.
But I sensed a little bit of a dip in energy. So I'm like, you know what? Just how about top 10 Euros? And Anthony's like, ooh.
I can do that. Yeah, no, it was. I had to pare this one down. I'm actually interested in how you came up with 100 co-ops. To be honest, I can't think of 30 that are even I don't know. 100 co-ops, really?
We did. On my list ended up being 125. Yeah, it's a lot.
That were all good?
Yes, my number. Wait, hold on a sec. What's my number 125? My number 125 is Police Precinct. So, do you consider Police Precinct good?
Consider it fine.
There you go. It starts out fine and just goes better and better from there.
Yeah. What I'm interested in is where's the line between good and fine for me. We'll see. I'll have to watch those videos. I have 10 Euros that play solo that I'm going to talk about. These are my top 10 personal favorites. And there are many, many more. I don't know if I have 125 of these, but if we were doing all Euros, sure, but then I would be sitting here for another 12 hours trying to narrow it down to 10, which I don't think any of us want to listen to.
So we figured it'd be fun. I think we get a lot of good feedback when we do kind of the dueling things. I think people are really into the fact that Anthony and I have very, very different taste in games. So it's nice to do an episode every once in a while where we can really put a spotlight on that. So Anthony's going to run through his top 10 Euros. I'm going to predict that I've played 6 of them. And then I'll give my... I think that's going to be my prediction is 6 of them. And then we will go into the audio for the top 10 between me and Luke. So hopefully you guys have fun with it because we certainly had fun putting together our top 10s. But before we get to that, we are going to get to Liz and her In Liz We Trust segment, who is going to share about an awesome Kickstarter project right now.
Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I'm here to encourage your Every Night is Game Night acquisition disorder. Today, I want to draw your attention to Days of Discovery, designed by Matt Worden. Days of Discovery is a small box card game set in late 13th century Portugal, and it is the first in a series of games that will tell an overarching story of reaching the distant land of danger and building a new life there. In Days of Discovery, the first part of your story will be divided into 3 acts. In Act 1, you must secure a wealthy sponsor for your journey. In Act 2, you will gather supplies to help ensure a successful voyage. And in Act 3, you will actually set out for the land of danger. I have not played Days of Discovery myself, but the rules look clear and the concept is interesting, especially because this game is intended to be the first in a long series. This is not a big budget game. The art is not exactly top of the line, and Matt Worden Games is a new company. But at $29, and with the promise of an overarching story across multiple games, Days of Discovery might be a game worth discovering. Happy gaming.
All right, Liz, thank you very much for that. So without further ado, Anthony's going to present us top 10 Euros that play solo.
All right, let's do it. All right, number 10 on the list is probably the least cube pushy of all these, but it is still very much a Euro, and that's Imperial Settlers. Ignacy Trzewiczek.
Got it. Yes.
Played it. Yes. Got one.
One.
This is a game where you play one of, I guess they're up to 6 different civilizations you can play now, and you will be building up different faction buildings as well as just regular general buildings. And in a multiplayer game, you're sniping and attacking each other all the time. In a solo game, you're dealing with a bot that just generally steals your stuff occasionally. So it's pretty easy to prepare against. It's not a particularly hard solo game, but the reason that this one makes my top 10 is that about a year after the game released, they put out a campaign guide. So this is a 4 or 5 page guide that you can print off of their website that will help you play a campaign as your particular civilization. And it adds dice rolling and upgrades and achievements and things that carry over from game to game. And it takes this kind of just forgettable filler solo take on a card game and turns it into a really, really cool experience. So, and that's one I've actually gone through a couple times now with different civilizations from the main box. And every time a new pack comes out, I pick it up and I go back through and I tweak my decks. And it's not even a game I get out that often multiplayer, but it gets a lot of play. So Imperial Settlers it remains up there for me.
It was a grower for me. I played it like when it first came out. I thought it just lasted too long for what it was, but the more I play it, it's like, wow, this is pretty fun. The multiplayer has those, what the song ones, Three's a Magic Number, and We Didn't Start the Fire, and so those cute expansion packs and everything. Nothing but good stuff there. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Imperial Settlers. A bigger fan, bigger and bigger as the years go by.
Yeah, and every time I think they're done, they just throw out another pack. So I think a new pack just literally came out like this last week.
We didn't start the fire.
Yeah, I would have tracked that one down. All right, so number 9 for me is Vital Lacerda's The Gallerist. He has a few games now that play solo. I like all of them. So Vinhos 2nd Edition, The Gallerist, Lisboa is very, very good. But The Gallerist remains the one that I feel is the most accessible and quickest to play solo. There's less to keep track of. Some of the other ones, you have a lot of things you have to move around. You're always playing against Lacerda himself. He's the bot who cheats too much. But in the Gallerist, you really only have to keep track of one thing. It's where that pawn is moving and how they follow and how you follow based on the several different action spots on the board. Otherwise, you're just playing the game with a couple of small tweaks. And it's already a very elegant, very beautiful to look at game. He's one of the few designers you can say makes thematic Euros, and they really are. They do kind of capture what he's trying to put into the game. So this is the one I picked to put on the list. But I would pick any of those. Especially Lisboa is a very, very strong entry here as well. And I'm very much looking forward to his next couple games that also have solo that are coming up soon. So that's The Gallerist.
I have not played it. I want to play it. I really, really want to play this. I'm surprised it made number 9 for as much as you talked this game up.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Like when I put this list together, I just made a list of all the games, and I think I had like 20, and then I pared it down to 10 or 12, and they were just in a random order. They were just based on where I saw them on my shelves, and then I kind of narrowed it down from there. Not so much on like which ones were the best, but which ones I play more often, because they're all really good to get on my top 10-ish. So I was like, well, which of these do I actually play more often? And I don't get the Gallerist out that much. It's a big game. It takes up a lot of space. It's one of those games that when I do set it up, I want to play it a few times, and I don't always have the opportunity to do that. So as we move down the list, there'll be games that I play more and more often, and I'll try to explain why. But in this case, it's a big one.
Awesome.
All right. Number 8 is Russian Railroads. This is one of those guilty pleasure games for me. I mean, it's a very solid Euro. It came out, I think, 5 years ago, 2013, and got good reviews. Everybody liked it. It was fine. The problem with the game when it initially came out, though, was that it was somewhat solvable. It wasn't fully solvable, but there were certain things that made more sense to do. It was not as variable enough it needed to be to actually have legs. But it has that really cool mechanism of you do a thing, you get a few points. The next round, you still get the points for that thing you already did, but now you get more points. And so by the 5th round of the game, you're scoring like 180 points, which some people think is ridiculous, and I think it's awesome. The reason this game jumped onto my list, though, is that the first expansion for it, German Railroads, not only added some new boards and some variable modules that made the game much more replayable, it added a solo mode. And the solo mode is a fairly simple, it's just a deck of cards, and you're basically marking off different spots on the worker placement options on the 2-player side of the board based on what comes up on those particular cards. So you can make your plans, but it might just randomly take stuff you need. And it makes it not a perfect take on the game, but when you combine it with the coal module, the German boards, the American boards, the stock module, there's like 6 different modules now for the game, plus the solo mode, and they all work with the solo mode. There's a lot of replayability here, and I really enjoy it.
I'm 1 for 3, and I have no desire.
This is definitely not for you, man. This is pure worker placement. And I love it.
Come on, man. Give me, throw me a bone here. I need something.
There's no way you play this next one.
Oh, no.
Let me get the guy's name. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, is this Tramways?
Yeah.
Oh, there's no way.
No, you never will. All right. All right, number 7 on my list is the beautiful. I'm just kidding. It looks like it was printed on somebody's dot matrix.
It looks like like when kids put together the painted macaroni for a picture. That's what it looks like.
It does, actually. It does. This is Tramways, by the way. It's from Albin Viard. Albin Viard is, in my opinion, a brilliant game designer. He has put out Small City, Tramways now. He's put out lots and lots of these games that are very, very deep, have a lot of complexity, but they're generally not very pretty to look at. They're very simple. And so Tramways is another one of those games in which you are putting out tracks and moving your guys between different stations on a metro of sorts. Can't really tell. There's not really much of a map here. But it's a very, very unique, engaging card mechanic in the way you manage your deck, manage the pool of resources available to you, build it up over the course of these 6 rounds, which are broken in half in each of the rounds, in which you're trying to get the best development cards that are there, but then also play a train game, kind of, where you're using your deck to build out the network. There's just a lot of different stuff going on here, and it still remains one of the more unique games I own. Like, it has just this really cool, unique take on city building and train building and just the way the card deck works. I'm surprised nobody's borrowed this yet. And it is, it's a pretty thinky game. So, there's not, some of his other games have a little bit more accessible starting point. This one really doesn't. It has an easier mode, but you really have to be kind of in that Euro thinky mode. The solo version works great. I think it's just right out of the box. There's no tweaks or strange changes to the game you have to make. It's just, if you like these heavier, crunchy games, if you like city building or route building, if you want a wait for solo game, this is a great one to go pick up. If that all sounds sleep-inducing, then you can skip ahead to the rest of the episode with Jason's co-ops.
I am okay, so there's at least 2 of them that I'm pretty much sure that's on your list that I've played, and there's one that I'm sure that's on your list that I've not. So I'm behind here. I need to rally.
Yeah, there's a few here. You might make it. All right, so moving on to the next one on the list, number 6. I know you played this because we just talked about this a few weeks back, and that's Anachrony.
Yep.
So Anachrony is this beautiful, big, sprawling worker placement time travel game that has fantastic components. It looks insane. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around what exactly you're doing, but the mechanics are fairly simple.
It's like a fever dream, that episode. Like the colors, even just the color scheme, the metallic kind of look of it. It's so busy, but it's not busy in a bad way. It's not busy in a hurt your eyes type of way. It's busy. It's like inviting to your eyes. It manages to pull that trick off. Man, yeah, definitely awesome.
Yeah, it's a funny game because the first time you look at it, you're like, that is too much. There's too much happening. But then like you run through and learn what everything is, and you're like, oh no, it all makes sense. It's similar to like the Euphoria board. You know, you look at that board the first time, you're like, what the heck? But it really works. And the solo mode has this Chronobots. It's a separate board, and it's just programmed and works through and shows you exactly where it's going to go based on various different actions. There's some variability there, of course, but it's a very well-made solo bot that is not just a secondary. It's not just a single deck of cards throwaway. It's like this whole separate board module that you get when you pick up the expansion. So it's it instantly jumped up on the list as one I play quite often. And it's kind of another one like the Gallerist where I set it up and play a bunch of games in a row. I just find myself doing it more often with this game than I do with the Gallerist.
Mm-hmm. No, this is a really good one. I've only played it once, and I'm looking forward to playing more.
All right. So that's number 6, Anachrony. Number 5, I actually had a toss-up here because these two games I picked up within like 2 weeks of each other, and I've played them both fairly frequently, but they have similar mechanics. But I'm just going to pick one because I didn't want to put both on the list because they're both relatively new. And the two games are Clans of Caledonia, which I love, and then Gaia Project, which I love slightly more. So Gaia Project is the space version of terraforming, or is the space version of Terra Mystica. It takes the basic formula of Terra Mystica, changes a lot of very important strategic things. So it makes a modular board. It opens the space up so there's more room between everything. It fixes a lot of issues with like the priest track. And most importantly of all, it has a solo mode for me. Anyway. It's an Automa, and it's, in my opinion, it's the best Automa that they've done yet. It's very sleek. It's very easy to understand, and it manages to take this very complicated game and turn it into a sleek, soloable game with almost all of the different races that come in the box. I think there's 14 of them. So it is, I play this quite a bit. You can get a game of Gaia Project in like 30, 40 minutes, which is amazing. And it instantly jumps up into the top 5 for me for that reason.
Does it count that if I've played Terra Mystica?
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Yes! 3 out of 6! I'm getting there.
When I'm teaching this one, if someone's played Terra Mystica, I can teach it in 10 minutes, so it's close enough. Yeah. All right, number 4 is I have to pick an Uwe Rosenberg game for the list, and I like a lot of his games solo. Most recently, I've been playing Newsfjord I like a lot. Fields of Arl is amazing. I play that one on chain. I really like Gates of Loyang. But the one I play the most, and I think it's because of this big sandbox that it offers, is A Feast for Odin.
Yep, that's the one I knew was going to be on your list, but I knew I hadn't played.
Yeah, it's because it's got the polyominoes, and you can't handle it.
It's just, I don't have, actually, no one I know owns it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'd give it a shot. It's, how bad could it be?
Glowing endorsements. A Feast for, it's a funny game. Like the first time I played it, I'm like, this is brilliant. It's a masterpiece. And then everybody I played it with has been like, you really like puzzle games, so you might be skewed on this one. I think regardless, it's a very strong entry into his gamography. But for me, it's still my favorite, and it's the one I bring out over and over and over again. It's got this, I don't know what it is. It's just putting those pieces together, completing that board, getting those extra maps, growing it out. If they ever expand this game at all, I will absolutely pick that up and I'll be playing it more. This is a game that, despite the size and despite how big of a footprint it has when I do set it up, comes out fairly often. All right, number 3 on the list, getting a little bit smaller and going back to the Automa, is Viticulture. So Viticulture with Tuscany is this is a game from Stonemaier Games, and this is the first, at least, major release of an Automa for a board game from a decent-sized publisher, and it really changed the game. I mean, Tuscany changed the game anyways. It turned an okay worker placement game into a fantastic game with a lot of different things in it. But for my money, the Automa really added the most in terms of replayability, and I might get this out to a game group, 2 or 3 times a year, but at home with the Automa deck, I play it fairly often. And it's a nice little puzzle. It's fairly quick and simple. There's not like a ton of extra stuff to manage or keep track of, and it works really well. So it's no surprise that they continue to make games, update games with Automa like this, because Viticulture is really solid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Viticulture is, I think it's like best in show worker placement game, like for an advanced worker placement game. Like Lords of Waterdeep is kind of very accessible, but if you want to take that next step beyond Lords of Waterdeep, I think this is the one you're going to take, right?
Yeah, I would say so. And there's games that are heavier, I think, along those lines, but I think for most people, this is the sweet spot for like solid strategy.
Right. I think that's what I'm saying. Like the sweet spot for like not as simple as that, but not a brain burner either. It's just and a cool theme. People can really get into like putting their feet into wine and stuff like that. So
yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's number 3. Number 2 is Nations. This is a
what?
Nations. I know.
Oh, you killed me with that. I'm off. I just fell out of my chair. Nations, really?
Yeah, Nations. I love Nations.
Ahead of Through the Ages?
Well, Through the Ages fell off because of the app.
I guess so. Okay.
Yeah, like Through the Ages, I can tell you now, Through the Ages isn't on the list. I love that game. I play it a fair amount, but 1, I came to it kind of late, and 2, I haven't played it once since the app came out, because why would you? Unless you had a group for it. So, but Nations is still a game I bring out fairly often, and it's got a deck of 400 plus cards to buy from. It's got a fairly streamlined, relatively straightforward solo mode. There's not a lot of stuff to keep track of. You have, I can't even remember how many nations are to choose from now with the expansion. I think maybe 15 or 20. So still working through all those on the second time through. And it's relatively quick considering that with a 4-player game, it's, really 3 to 4 hours long. You can play it solo in 30 to 40 minutes. So this is a game that I feel like isn't... When it came out, it really didn't hit anybody's radar because of the price. It was way overpriced at like $100 for what should be a $60 game. And for that reason, I think a lot of people missed out on it. And it's a shame because it's really, really good. And I play it quite often. I play the dice game, too, if I want something a little bit quicker. It also has a fairly solid solo mode in it.
I have nothing to say. I'm floored. I thought this game was replaced, to be honest with you. I really did.
No. I mean, this came out after Through the Ages. So,
cool.
So, yeah. And then number 1, you know what this is, right?
Spirit Island?
It's not Spirit Island.
No! It's not even on the list! What? Oh my god! Because there's no cubes. What happened?
Spirit Island. I don't consider Spirit Island a pure Euro. I mean, it's a co-op, man.
Fine. What is it? I don't know.
Terraforming Mars. It's terraforming.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah. No, like since I picked this one up, it's been about 2 years. I've played it 70, 80 times solo. I can't even keep track anymore. But it comes out. I can knock it out in 30 minutes, and every single play feels substantial, consequential. I mean, I don't lose very often anymore. It can happen with certain corporations, but it's still, no matter how I do it, when I do it, it's just a fun game. And there's more content coming for it, so I will probably continue to keep playing it. So
we didn't improve your play on it. I'm also a big fan of that solo. It's one of the ones that like went talking about Euros, talking about there's games that like resist the theme, like no matter how much you try to put it in there, like Russian railroads and stuff like that. I just don't feel like anything. I don't feel anything. I just feel like I'm pushing cubes. But this game, I feel like, I'm doing stuff. I get the card row that's growing. I get the, changing this for this thing. I get all that Euro stuff, but it just, I'm putting out oceans and I'm putting out plants, and it like there's a board and it matters. Like it doesn't matter. Like you don't have to have the board there, but it still kind of gives me that enough of that visual and an imaginative push where it's like, yeah, I can really get into this. So yeah, totally. I'm shocked you didn't put Spirit Island on there, but hey, I mentioned it, so that's the point of these lists. Yeah.
I mean, it was in my, if you were going to say, what are your top 10 solo games? Yeah, 100% it's in the top 10, but you said Euros. So I drew the line, and that one's it's the most Euro-y co-op that I own, but it's still a co-op.
So that was our top 10 co-ops, our top 10 Euros. Sorry about that. We are going to get into top 10 co-ops with Luke Hector right now, actually. Let's do it.
Crazy.
Okay. Welcome to our top 10. These are, in the opinion of Luke and I, combined, in terms of our combined list. To be clear, this is not it's not my top 10. This is not Luke's top 10. This is what we did was we both made top 100 and we just smushed them together, averaging out the different places. So like if I had a game high, Luke had a game low, it kind of landed in the middle. These are games that were high on both our lists for any particular reason, and they just kind of fell in there. We kind of slotted in there. This is the top 10. We love all of these games to one extent or another. Let us get started with the top 10. So number 10.
And you can have this one. I don't own it anymore, unfortunately.
What? Why?
Because I have not got I didn't have the expansion. The expansion wasn't released when I had this. And then I played it again with the expansion, and now I'd like to get it back again. Because the expansion fixes a lot of it.
Number 10, this was 20 on my Luke's list, 19 on my list. The Grizzled. The Grizzled is probably my favorite card cooperative game. And card cooperative games, they probably feel different than just like a regular cooperative game. There's a lot of good ones out there, but this one is tense. You're sitting there with your hand of cards, and everybody's trying to match symbols, but there's very, very limited communication around the table. You can't say what each of you have. If you get certain kind of debuffs, especially that dreaded mute card, you really can't talk, which is really hilarious. So everybody's kind of guessing what get into head in terms of the symbol matching. If you match too many symbols when you're on a quote unquote mission, then the whole thing wipes and you have to shuffle it back into the deck and you have to get rid of it all again. Objects is to get rid of all the cards. Good luck, especially at higher player counts. I have won this game at 3 pretty regularly. 4 is tough. 5 I think is impossible. I've never even come close to 5.
I don't play this game with 5 anyway. I much prefer it as a free player.
Right. Yeah, and it does have solo and 2-player. They're different games. Like they're very different games because it doesn't have that tense communication. The 2-player does, but there's like a dummy. The solo is like it's like a regular solitaire card game, like an Onium or whatever it is, which I enjoy. I like it. I do like it at 3. The 3 is the optimal count. World War II theme, you're kind of, or World War I theme. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
World War I, you're kind of, you're progressing through these missions. You're quote unquote going into enemy territory to accomplish something, and then after a while you have to kind of call it and move back. And if you call it in the right time, you get to get rid of all those cards. Basically, you're trying to get rid of all your cards from turn to turn. The expansion adds quote unquote missions, so like every individual mission has like this extra layer of challenge that you have to do, which is very nice and thematic. There is a campaign mode coming out in the second and last expansion for this.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Have it got good?
I am in. This is one of my absolute favorites, and Luke as well. Even though it doesn't have it anymore, I don't know why.
Well, the thing is, the reason I've rated it this high is because of the expansion. The original game I thought decent, but absolutely tough as nails, and didn't want to play it with anything other than 3 players. I thought 4 and 5 was just a bit too long and insanely hard. And plus, at the time, you were literally just matching up symbols, so it was quite abstracted. Then I got rid of it. Like I say, I had it as a review cover, and I thought, yeah, I'm okay with this. Then I played somebody else's copy when they had At Your Orders, and you mentioned the 1 and 2 player rules. They were in the expansion. I don't think the original game had them. So first you had solitaire play. Great, there's a plus. New rules for 2 players, because the original 2-player rules weren't that great. The new 2-player rules are a lot better. And then the mission cards, not only are they more thematic, which is a massive plus for me, but they also scale in difficulty. So they tell you whether they're easy, medium, or complex mission cards. So you can scale the difficulty to your liking by introducing certain missions and leaving certain ones out. So that amount of flexibility has now elevated the game to the point where I wanted to put it at 20. If it had no expansion, it would have still made this top 100, but it would have been a lot lower. It made that much of a difference.
All right, so that was the Grizzled, our number 10. So number 9 is where we get to reintroduce Pandemic Legacy Season 1, which was our number 11. Number 9 is Pandemic Legacy Season 2. So very, very close. Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is my preferred one. It was my number 6, all the way down to number 34 for Luke. Legacy Season 2 was also my preference. Wow, I liked them a lot more than you did. But you liked Season 2 more than Season 1.
Yeah.
So
I like Pandemic fine. I mean, I don't go crazy for Pandemic sort of game-wise, but I like the legacy aspects of them. And it was hard for me to decide whether I liked one or two, or whether I wanted to put them together anyway, because they're essentially similar games. But,
I don't see. I disagree with that.
Well,
they're very different. They feel very different.
They do get to that point. I mean, the first one basically does feel like... I think this is the reason why I prefer the second one, because the first one does feel like Pandemic with extra rules. It feels like they've given you Pandemic with a bunch of expansions. Legacy bit's great, but it's kind of like, same board, just other stuff happening. And Season 2 does flip it on its head, gives you a brand new map, like turns the tables on how you're supposed to play it, then introduces a lot of other different elements, and I think the plot of that one I was a bit more interested in as well, even though you can guess it from a mile away. But I'd like both. It was sort of, where do I want to put them? And I think I just put the second one slightly higher on a personal preference level. But I still like the Pandemic Legacy games. They're solid, and if you like Pandemic, you are kidding yourself if you haven't gone and bought one by now and played for it. Because there are friends of mine who are still just getting through the first one. But I've got a few friends of mine who they loved Pandemic when I first showed them it, so they got the game themselves. I said, well, I got to play the Legacies, so we have played through both Legacies in that same group of 4 of us. And, we've enjoyed it. So if there is a Season 3, you can guarantee we'll do it again. But
there's a Season 3. It's already made. And it's in testing right now. So I prefer Season 1 to Season 2. Luke is right. Season 1 is basically Pandemic with a bunch of more and more expansions as it kind of moves on. Season 2 was instead of like curing cubes, you're actually adding cubes to the board. Like you have to put down cubes. It's bad when there's no cubes. And so it made that little change. It's just a very more open-ended experience. Maybe a little bit too open-ended. We ran into some issues. Spoiler.
Oh yeah, we should have really made that disclaimer. Although to be fair, we're not spoiling anything.
Right. Yeah, we're not spoiling anything. We're just kind of talking generalities over here. If you don't, we won't say any more than that. I preferred that first Pandemic experience. I thought it was tighter. The Season 2 experience was more open, so that's a preference thing. Yeah, at the end of the day, it
was a lot more open, and the only blemish I had with the Season 2 one is I felt the ending was very much you knew.
Spoiler.
Yeah, I'll say nothing more.
Right. The ending was ... Okay, so that was our number 9 Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Number 8. So this was number 20 for me, pretty high. Number 11 for Luke, so I'll go let him sing the praises of...
It's a heavy one, yeah. And you have got the second edition, good.
That's right, Robinson Crusoe
and that. And like I say, this game before First Martians, if you put me in a room, I would probably, like I say, I would put this one, I think I did, didn't I rate? Yes, I rated this one higher than First Martians, but not by much. And I think a lot of that mainly just comes to the theme. I find that the thematic nature of this one more preferable to... what are you doing back there? All right, you're putting it away.
I got other games here, man. Am I show and tell? I got to line that up.
Fair enough. But Robinson Crusoe had the same problems as the first edition of First Martians, which is, for some reason, nobody can design a good rulebook for these games. And it is a beast to teach, hence I tend to play it solo, but occasionally with a 2-player I want to play it, or even 3-player sometimes. Is a 4 waste of time. You will lose and it will take forever. But the theme that comes out of this game when you're just lost on... stranded on this island, you've got to do the fundamental basics of explore, get food, build shelter, defend yourself while doing these missions. It is one of the hardest games ever put to this planet. You will die in pretty much every single game, usually because of the rotten weather. So much so that I have now sort of made building shelter like my first priority, because that tends to be how I die. Not getting shelter up. But it's almost like a toolbox, because the mechanics are the same. You build inventions and you go for the event decks and you read an event like you find some blueberries and then do you eat them or not? And if you do, you shuffle them back in the deck and then they come back saying that you've got, horrible illness and herpes. Something. It's like, herpes. I wasn't going to be crude, but But you get those cool thematic elements. But I love the variation of the scenarios in this. I mean, the first one has you just trying to light a campfire for survival. Then one has you trying to get out to Jenny, who's stranded on a little rock before the storm comes in. Another one is like Indiana Jones' Volcano Island. Another one is defending from cannibals. Another one is like, you know what? We're stranded on this island for life. Let's just build like the Swiss Family Robinson. And each one feels very, very different. Second edition upped the component quality, although not much different from the first one. Quintessentially, it gave you a better rulebook, though. Mm-hmm. It's long. It's still a steep learning curve. It's almost a vertical cliff for a learning curve.
Thank you, Ricky Royal. Go to that man's website right now.
Yeah, but it's just...
It's a really good way to learn it.
Yeah. So, and like I say, you've got the... I think you got it, yeah. And you got the Watch It Played on there as well. So it's just, learn it from that as well. That helps. But the rulebook is a lot better, and you can get into this. Just accept you're going to lose a lot. I've won my last 2 games of this, I'll admit. However, I have no idea if I got a rule wrong or not. And I wasn't playing... I think I was playing the... Yes, I did win, finally, the campfire one, because it's supposed to be the first mission you learn as a training perspective, but it kills you stone dead most of the time, so it's kind of nasty. And I won Swiss Family Robinson one. I have not tried the King Kong variant, the one that you can download. I want to try that. And I haven't tried Cannibal Island yet. I've done all the rest, though, and had my rear end handed to me.
But you are about to get more content. Robinson Crusoe Mystery Tales will be coming later this year, 2018. Voyage of the Beagle will be re-released by Portal in 2019. You are not lacking for support for Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah, I mean, Voyage of the Beagle's all right, but I haven't really had a lot of time to delve into that. I've got it, but... I haven't really, because it takes so long to play all the other missions, I haven't really delved into the Beagle, so I'm not entirely certain why I bought it. I think I just got it really cheap, and I'm a bit of a completionist, but yeah, it's going to get support.
All right, so that was Robinson Crusoe, our number 8. Number 7, another baby of Luke's. This is my 25. Probably should be higher, but...
Yes.
Again, I'm cheap. Luke
yeah.
not so cheap.
Teacher salary, not the perfect one. Only accountants may play this game.
This is Arkham Horror LCG, our number 7. This is number 4 on Luke's list overall.
Yeah, because this one keeps tossing and turning as which one I prefer out of this one or Lord of the Rings LCG. And again, another Vault box because, again, Fantasy Flight put these stupid little tiny boxes out which you cannot hold the collection in to save your life. But I've got so much space in the box that I have, even with, what am I on, the 3rd cycle now with the deluxe version? I've actually, I think a review of it should have already gone out by the time this airs, but The Forgotten Age. And again, just one folder, but all the cards, Arkham Horror LCG. People were thinking, oh, is this Eldritch? Nope. The LCG for Arkham Horror, which it keeps topping and turning as to which I prefer out of this or Lord of the Rings. But I think Lord of the Rings gets the slight edge for how more gamey it is, and for how much I like the Lord of the Rings theme. But yeah, it could be either of those two on any given moment, because some of the problems some people have with other Arkham games is getting the narrative out. Elder Sign has done better, but it's still a dice game. Some people say Eldritch Horror is too much of an adventure game, and Arkham Horror is great theme horror, but it's also a mechanical beast. So everyone looks for the balance of this. This LCG, though, gets the narrative spot on. Every single scenario that this one does is... Yeah, there's some better than others, but they are generally all good fun to play, but the cycle tells a brilliant narrative, and the best thing that this introduces, which I hope Lord of the Rings does at some point, it does it in bits, but not a lot, is story choices. The fact that you have a decision to make, whether it's at the start of a scenario, at the end, or even during a scenario, like halfway through, gives you a choice. You've come across a Aztecian warrior or something, and it's like, you've got a choice. Are you gonna fight against her, to put your dominance through, or are you gonna parlay with her and just say, look, we're not the enemy, we just want to go through here. And however you decide it affects the rest of the scenario, and then you have to write in your little campaign log, so and so hates you, or so and so trust you or something, and you have no idea what that's going to mean until another cycle down the line where it might do well for you, it might stab you in the back, you don't know, and it allows for great replayability because I can just sort of go, right, I've tried this deck and I did this storyline. Whether I win or lose it, I can say, right, I'm going to try this character now, plays fundamentally different, and I'm going to make this story choice now and see what happens. So yeah, solid artwork. It's a classic. It's definitely my favorite Arkham Horror like Cthulhu-esque game, and top 5. It just constantly keeps battling against Lord of the Rings for who's going to be the highest in any given year when I do my top 100s.
Right. It's only the IP. Like everything about you say about the game is great. The choose your own adventureness of it, narrative, the marriage of narrative plus mechanisms. I think Lord of the Rings resists theme in some way because of how heavy it is gamer wise. You get into some funky stuff. This one, nice and open, simple, but still kind of challenging. The deck construction isn't as heavy, but there's still some there. There's still some there.
It's still there, but the whole Lord of the Rings requires you to build a 50-card deck and have 3 cards max of each copy, and that gets it to about as high a limit as I can manage for deck construction. Anything more than that, like the Netrunners and stuff like that, it's like, oh my god, I can't construct a deck for these. Arkham Horror usually wants you to create like a 30-card deck and only max 2 copies of any card. The card pool is getting bigger, but split across 5 factions and that, it's pretty well spaced out so that you don't get overwhelmed with choices. You know, you take this particular character, you know she's a combat munchkin. So, right, I'm looking at blue cards. And there are some that are blatantly more geared towards combat and some that are more geared towards helping other multiplayer players out. So if you're playing solo, again, you don't have to choose them. And it just makes it a lot easier to build a deck.
It's just the IP. Give me
You're not an
Game of
Arkham
Thrones.
fan, yeah.
Give me I don't know, what am I, some Dresden Files or whatever. Just like there's all sorts of IPs out there that I would do. But this game is fantastic. That's Arkham Horror LCG, our number 7. Number 6. So I'm very happy that this game made it this high because it's my number 1 game overall. Number 1 game overall. This was like in the 20s, I think 22 or 23 for Luke.
23, yeah.
Pandemic, just straight
I
old Pandemic.
I think
not
we would have
Pandemic
got
Legacy, not Pandemic Iberia, not the I consider them separate games because they all do something a little bit different.
I was going to say, I did it slightly differently, but fair enough.
No, I will separate out the original Pandemic. This is my first love. This is my baby.
We would have been boycotted if we hadn't put this on the list in the top 20, though.
This is the game that got me into co-ops in the first place when I was first getting into games. And it stands up the test of time. It is, I don't even think of it as a game. I think of it as a game engine. And so like basic Pandemic, I don't play like unless it's like a brand new group of people, which that's cool too. I have a game that's very simple and I can show it to a brand new group of players. If I'm going to play though, I'm going to play with Purple Cubes. I'm going to play with Superbug. I'm going to play with,
and then lose.
You know, yes. I've played hundreds of games between the app and the solo and everything else. I'm still not great at it because I'm not a great card counter. You know, I don't know when the epidemic still surprised me. They shouldn't at this point. But
that's it. I can't card count either, so I don't do that well at this game either.
Yeah, so I'm not as great as I should be, but I love it. It has, you could do anything you want. You can make Legacy out of it. You can tell different stories out of it. They have the historical versions of it. There's so many ways in which they can go. Classic cooperation. I don't care about alpha player. I'm not a person that cares about that. So I know it kills people, the alphaness of the game. I don't, whatever. Just
that's the same with co-ops. Yeah, that's a people problem.
Just behave.
Behave.
So this gets me. I know this is a total sidebar, but like in a competitive game, Kingmaker is a problem. So like you can lose your face so bad that you end up helping somebody else win. Why is that not an inherent problem, quote unquote, in competitive games, and yet alpha player is a quote unquote problem in cooperative games? I'm calling it BS on that.
Well, you got the other problem of, you know, the kingmate thing, but you've also got the grudge holders. You know, it's like, I screwed you over a little bit earlier, so they make it their mission in life to kill you off. And it's like,
if we're not going to say that's an inherent problem in competitive games, I don't want to hear anything about alpha player in cooperative games. Anyway, so that's real, and the abstract nature of it, I don't care, because the abstract nature of it makes it easy to layer top stuff on top of it. So like the Pandemic Legacy engine, the Iberia engine, which is a really, really good game. Just so much good stuff over here. I'm looking forward to the historical expansions. Can't say enough. It's my favorite game of all time, Pandemic.
As I say, do like it. Not as amazing as everybody else does, you know, mainly because of the abstract thing, but still in my 20s, I still can't deny that if you're going to get into co-ops, if you don't get this game, you're missing out. Love the Legacies. You have separated them out, though. I didn't think that when I was doing my list and that. I separated the Legacies because I think they are fundamentally different. maybe season 1, but we'll see. But all the other pandemics, I've pretty much sort of lumped them together into one big, like you say, pandemic system, and just gone, where would I rate all of them, like in conjunction in that? And I don't mind the basic game. I'd rather play it with some expansions. Wasn't the biggest fan of Rising Tide. I thought that was okay, but just a bit graphic design wise. And the Cthulhu one was just not needed. Seriously, why?
We know why.
Yeah, money. But the one that I have on my shelf, which is in the other room, but is the Iberia one. And that's the only one I've kept, other than the legacy ones and that is the one that I will easily pull out and play, because that is basically basic Pandemic with some additional things that make it a lot better. And I even argue that it's easier to teach that one in some cases than the other ones, because you've got that railroad system that, you know, helps you a lot. And then if you want to make it more complex, it came with 2 variants that enable you to make it harder anyway. Besides looking a lot better. So, I mean, I've ranked it this high mainly because of Iberia. Otherwise, it might have been a bit lower. But, yeah, it's a classic gateway co-op.
I actually left Iberia off the rankings. It probably would have landed in like the 20s or 30s for me. I just didn't want all my list to be full of pandemics.
Yeah, I would not have separated anything other than the pandemics and the legacies. That would have been it. Yeah, I mean, we separated out Pandemic the Cure, didn't we? Yeah.
No, we included that one. We included that. All right, that's it. That's further down the list.
Yeah,
I just didn't want a whole bunch of pandemics in the list. But I love Iberia. I love the whole thing. Pandemic, blah 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 blah. Pandemic.
So all right, like I say,
that is the last we are going to hear about Pandemic on the top 100.
Right. Z Garcia owes you 20 quid. So you get royalties when you talk about Pandemic.
That is the last we are going to talk about Pandemic on the list. We still have 5 more games to go. So this is our number 5. So this one had the slight edge for me. It's whatever. I was number 9 for me, number 13 for Luke.
Well, we get to this point, and literally no game out of the ones that are left were lower than 15 on either of our lists. So we're not saying any of these are bad at all.
So I think at this point we finally reached the point where we don't have to quibble about placement anymore.
Yeah,
these are all super high. So this is our number 5. It is Ghost Stories. So this is a tower defense game, kind of old at this point, 2012, somewhere around there.
It's old, but I think that was the golden year of games.
This is standard test of time. I think if this game came out today and there was no change at all, it would be just as good, just as popular. It's good on its own. It's good with the White Moon expansion. I happen to like Black Secret. I know that's not as popular a one, but just basic Ghost Stories. It's a tower defense game. It's cards that come out every single turn. It's ghosts that are on the cards that are like coming towards your village. Your village is made of tiles, and your little ninja or whatever, your
monks,
Tao warrior or something. Monks, there you go. You're walking around these tiles. You're using them to like get these tokens to roll, to pump up your character. You're using them to beat back the ghost and everything. It is so frantic. The best tower defense game I've ever played. It's as hard as its reputation. It is very, very difficult to win, especially at the max player count. 4 players, it is really, really hard. You have to be on a string and willing to kind of learn where you can lose a tile or two in order to build yourself up, in order to, which is something that a lot of people don't do. They're just like, go and roll dice at the things. They fail, and then they wonder why they failed. So, but no, Ghost Stories is one of my absolute favorites. It's tough. Solo, it's actually easier at solo. I've actually beaten it on Nightmare mode with the 3 bosses at solo.
You've actually beaten this on Nightmare.
So only solo, because it's whatever
you only
reason.
Control one
in the
solo, don't you? Or
what's that?
What did you just control one character with the solo one as opposed
one
to
character?
multi-handed?
You have these little tokens that represent powers of the other characters. So like you grab a token from the middle. You go to the side, you do your thing, and then whenever you use that power, like let's say you use the green person's power, token goes back in the middle, you have to go get it back.
I think it's a long time since I played it solo. I think I've just played it with multi-ninjas or something as opposed to...
So solo, it's very, very beatable. Multiplayer, 4 players. Ugh.
Yeah, multiplayer, this is hard. And you're talking about Nightmare mode. I mean, it's hard enough to beat on normal. I can't beat it on... I haven't barely even attempted it on anything harder than the, what do they call it, the induction level, because that is already stupidly hard. But then you've got Nightmare and Hell difficulty, and it's like, I want to play a game, because Hell's just ridiculous. It's not fun if it's so hard it's downright impossible. The base game almost reaches that threshold, but yeah, wonderfully thematic, looks gorgeous. Tower defense, it's a fun mechanic anyway. This is definitely the best one that there is, because it really does feel like, get back. The White Moon expansion helps a lot as well. I don't often teach it with it because I keep forgetting the rules to it, because there's a lot in it. But I do like the extra sort of protective effects. You've got that goddess or whatever who pops in every now and again, and the cool items, and some more ghosts. I like the Devourers, the like werewolf type characters.
Yep.
So I like to use White Moon. I don't own Black Secret. I watched a few reviews. I didn't think I wanted to do that whole one versus all thing, and I felt it was already complex enough with it because the rulebook could be better. It's one of those weird rulebooks. But yeah, it's an Antoine Bowser co-op game. What more do you want?
That's right. It's so good. Ghost Stories, that is our number 5. Number 4 is an interesting kind of how it played out, a 3-way tie. So it scored in our little point system here. It scored 19 points, all 3 of these games. So you're basically interchangeable 2, 3, and 4. So we'll just run through them in whatever order my computer program put it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is number 4. This is Flashpoint Fire Rescue. So
upstage. What are you doing with that crummy little box?
Yeah, the rest of it is somewhere
I got a thing about wood.
Shelves. I didn't even I have everything for it, including the tragic events little deck thing.
Yep, I've got that.
That's a solid one. I have all the boards. There's a million boards to this thing in another box.
Yeah.
This game, I don't know. We talk about co-ops that are good for introductory, right? Co-ops that are open to different people that are not gamers, that have something for gamers and for non-gamers. I think why are you taunting me?
I'm not taunting you. Not taunting you. Just like Jared, you can carry on talking. It's perfectly fine.
For those of us listening to the audio only, Luke is showing me all this crap laid out in different games.
I've got a thing about wooden inserts of that, and like I say, you talk about all the boards. This became so problematic to store because the boards didn't fit in all the boxes. So when the Broken Token did their box for it, it's like I jumped on that bandwagon.
So, this is not the greatest co-op game ever designed. If you don't know, it's a firefighting game. You're going in, you're putting out fires, and you're also rescuing people. You're going into these different rooms, and you have to go and you have to rescue little question mark tokens, and sometimes they're dogs and cats and kids and couples, and sometimes they're nothing. So you wasted your whole time, and but you're fighting these fires, and you have fire trucks on the outside. The expansions as different boards. You can go into a laboratory and an airplane and all these different. There's so much different. There's so much different personality to this game. There's a lot there for gamers, but if you just want to lay it out, and I've done this in therapy as well. I think I talked about this when we went over Pandemic: The Cure. I'll play this game in a psychotherapy setting with people who are anxious. Get them exposed to all sorts of oh my God, what am I gonna do? And really anxious, and they'll do it, and then I'll be able to process with them afterwards. How did that feel? Do you feel heroic, and you got through it and everything? The fact that I can play this with a 6-year-old in therapy, and it's satisfying, and then I could scale it all the way up and put this down at a game night legitimately and have a good mechanical time with a lot of theme to it. Oh, I can't say enough about Flashpoint.
You can't. This definitely had to be, because this was when I first started getting into games. There were 2 games that struck into mind. First, Seven Wonders, because that was the first, ignoring times during uni where I may have played other things like Citadels and 1 or 2 other sort of odd ends and sods for board games, but didn't really know about the industry at that time. First time I went to a board game night, though, found out there was a club thing, found out it had spawned the boom of that, was 4 or 5 years ago now, when I started the blog, and someone showed me Seven Wonders. That was the first game that I went, wow, okay, I need to find out more. Flashpoint Fire Rescue was the first co-op, and subsequently the first one that I reviewed on this whole channel. It was my first one. And it was, yeah, nostalgia. But
First love.
There's love, but I still love it, though. Like you say, you can play the basic version if you've got kids or new people that really don't need all the extra rules. I'm more than happy just to break out the basic game. So, put in the rolls, but just use the basic house board. But it is great that when some people know what they're doing, or you think, oh yeah, you can handle this, you can just throw in the apartment building, the skyscraper, the subway station, all of those, and just, it's another one of those themes, a bit like when we were saying with Freedom, the Underground Railroad. It's a theme everyone gravitates towards, firefighters, and there's not enough games that are based on the emergency services. I've kind of realized we need more. We need another police game.
Dog. As a playable dog, get the playable dog.
Oh, I do love playing the dog. Yes, the dog's a good one. And that tragic thing has helped a lot, actually, because the one weakness I had were those hotspot markers that you just dotted around. They littered the place, and it was really fiddly. Getting rid of those and now having the fire deck of cards adds a lot of fun talkative theme moments, adds more theme into the game, and even some comedy moments where suddenly, like, you're going through and then suddenly the next point of interest, the next like victim possibility marker turns out to be this really obese bloke. So it takes like more actions to carry them out or something, and you get the others where like animal sounds are heard, or you get like massive fire things, and it works very well as a mini expansion. But yeah, I can't say enough good about it. It's just it's not complicated. It's simple. You can scale the difficulty however you like, and everybody loves the theme. What else do you want from a co-op?
There you go. That was Flashpoint Fire Rescue, our number 2 seed. I don't know. Really number 4. Let's go with number 4 because they're all tied. Okay, number 3. I know I talked a lot about the Arkham IP, right? But Eldritch Horror is, to me, not necessarily an Arkham game. It is. It has tentacles and it scares you and everything. But I think
that's the criteria,
right? Tentacles. I see them. They're right
Tentacles
there.
Means a Cthulhu. Nothing else.
And like old timey, like Tommy guns and stuff. But what this game does, we've said it a bunch of times, and you'll hear it a lot. This is an adventure game. It's Indiana Jones. Like if they just like slapped Indiana Jones on here, I wouldn't even notice. And I love Indiana Jones. That's one of my favorite IPs. It took Arkham Horror, streamlined it down. You can actually, I feel like you have more agency at the end of the game. So you will get some bad rolls, but there's like mitigation. There's a little bit of mitigation. There's different ways to like build up your rolls, or different ways to specialize. I felt the character balance is really good. You get a little wonky because there's a lot of content for this game. I mean, we're talking 4 big box expansions, 5 little box expansions.
It's gotten bloated, especially as you remember, I had it in that vault, along with all the Arkham stuff. That's why I'm letting you show and tell it this time. But but it's got a lot of content in it now, to the point where it's like, yeah, this is getting bloated, but you can cherry pick a lot of the stuff you throw in it expansion wise, and usually it's based on what ancient one you want to fight. I want to fight that big worm dude that goes through the soil, like destroys buildings. Fine, but I only need to be concerned with these elements. Right.
Yeah, so I love Eldritch Horror. I'll lay it out in time. I'll just play like a regular game of Eldritch Horror. I have a hard time getting the spare board, so I stopped buying the big expansions. I only get the little ones, like the Cities of Ruin. Latest one was actually a solid one. Probably the best little one, besides the first one, which was just more cards, which is necessary. But the Cities of Ruin added like all different mechanics. They're finally starting to like explore the mechanical space in there with their expansions. The adventure thing is good. The stories are good. Ugh. So good.
It's a great one. Cities of Ruin and Forsaken Law, yeah, I'd be hard-pressed to rank which one I like best. But I've always said, every time I've reviewed another expansion, you get the small ones first, then choose your cherry pick out of the big ones. Because the new boards are okay, but I find it's like, oh god, it's more complexity, more stuff to learn. I prefer it when they don't do the boards, just give you more cards, more ancient ones, and some other mechanics. So Cities and Ruins was perfect for that.
Perfect.
More cards, another ancient one, and that destruction mechanic that isn't complicated, but it makes a big difference. It's like, suddenly you start the game and Rome is destroyed. It's like straight off the bat. They picked on Rome. But it's an adventure game. Not the most horrific Cthulhu game ever, but yeah, you can't deny it. It streamlined it to a point. Do not play this with more than 3 to 4 players, though.
Yeah. We tried to do it with 8 one night. No, sir.
Oh, God. I mean, a friend of mine always likes to teach it now and again, and he keeps roping in like, oh, we got like 5 or 6, do you want to play this? It's like, no. You have, I swear he's put more people off Eldritch Horror than he has enticed people in, because he keeps playing it with 5 or 6 players. It's like, don't.
The inviter, the dirty old inviter. All right, so that was our number 3, Eldritch Horror. Number 2, I love theme. I love narrative. This is, as soon as I played the first scenario, instant top 5 game. Personally, top 5 co-op, top 5 everything.
This is a surprise, though. I didn't think it would get this high on both our lists.
Really?
I didn't think it would get to this top 5, though. I didn't think it would. I thought it'd be high. I thought we'd be doing it in the top 20, top 40, but to be number 2, that was a shocker.
It's my number 4 overall,
Hmm.
number 15 for Luke. So, very high on both our. Are you serious? This game is like it's again a game system.
Hmm.
Like I contend, Pandemic is a game system. It does so much different stuff that tells different stories. If you want like a rock'em sock'em, let's kill a lot of things. Let's go to Marcy Case. If you want to solve really hard puzzles, go to the original base version. The different like the last one that was released as of this recording, Australia Drive, was I thought one of the best ones. I mean, like it's seven expansions in, and it's still like giving me different stuff. It's innovating, it's interesting, it's very adult theme. I wish they would release some more kind of family friendly ones because I want to play this with my family.
I like those.
Family.
I like these gritty ones.
Good. Yeah, I do like the gritty ones as well. So many different stories. The weakest part, it's not a perfect game. There's probably a little bit too much dice rolling for a resolution. You end up kind of just rolling and doing the thing. I don't want to get too much into it because it overcomes anything that is mechanically an issue with it because of such strong narratives, such strong art, really good mysteries to solve, and really good puzzles to solve. Those are two different things. It gives you mysteries and puzzles and narrative. Escape rooms got nothing on this game because escape room themes are garbage.
We like escape room games. He's talking about theme, right?
I love escape room games, but like, you are in the Amazon and you fell into a trap and you have a giant pile of astronomical puzzles next to you. Go solve it. No, it's dumb. You are legit in stories, playing characters. You're kind of doing the quantum leap thing where you're kind of jumping into receptacles and you're living out that character's life. Takes 5 hours per scenario and it flies by. Never even noticed the time.
Yeah,
that is time story.
We kind of do it. I play it with two girl mates of mine from the Game Shelf, another sort of pair on UK bloggers, and we've now got into this thing where we play it like as a free player all the time. It usually takes us about 3 hours per scenario, not usually 5, but depending on the reset. It's still 15. I still really like it. However, there's a strong caveat with this. I've enjoyed it a lot at the start, very much at the start. The original scenario I still think is the best one by far. That one really sold me on the system. Liked Marcy Case, didn't like Prophecy. Egyptian one was okay. Loved Endurance. I thought that was a good one. The Arctic one, especially the way it started. Wasn't a fan of the, what was it called? The medieval one at all? The Crusades?
One.
Yeah.
Lumen Fide.
I didn't like that one very much at all. I felt that was so combat heavy. And I liked Estrella Drive. I thought Estrella Drive was quite cool as well. But Time Stories is on a tightrope at the moment. I still love it, and I still think it's a fantastic co-op, but they have got to get back to its roots because they've had this overarching plot for a while that they've been letting aside for ages. They're leaving it behind, and it takes ages for them to release a new scenario. They need to get back to that overarching plot because that's one of the best things of it, and they need to start doing more timey-wimey weird stuff with it. I mean, not spoiling anything, but the start of the Endurance module I thought was brilliant the way that was handled in the sort of timey-wimey thing fashion it did. And you don't often see that around. I need them to start going back to the whole fact that this is a sci-fi. Not just because you put it in medieval times doesn't make it a fantasy game. Keep to the sci-fi, do more time weirdness, bring back more puzzles, because we don't seem to be getting as many of those, and less of the combat. That's what I'm a bit worried about at the moment. They're going down a lot down the combat route. And you mentioned about rolling dice. Well,
that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hit and miss with the scenarios, but I don't find a scenario bad. I go, no, I didn't enjoy that game. I still enjoy it, hence I'm ranking it highly. But when they get it right, when they get a scenario perfect, that's like one of the best 3-hour experiences I can get for a co-op.
See, it's funny, in terms of the diversity of opinion, Prophecy of Dragons was like my favorite scenario. And Expedition Endurance was my least favorite scenario.
Yeah, everyone
entirely flipped from you. We don't have to get into that. Maybe we'll do like a separate thing on Time Stories, full spoiler, whatever.
That
but
could be a good podcast,
it's funny how
actually.
we can have such difference of opinion, and it's still the same game, and we still love the experience. So that was our number 2. That was Time Stories. So we have arrived at our number 1. If you are a follower of the Broken Meeple, you know exactly what game landed at number 1. I tried.
You tried to get rid of it.
I tried to kind of it.
I can't believe this got to number 1. I mean, people are going to cry foul at this so bad.
I think Luke Hector and the designer of the game are the only two people who have this game as their number one co-op of all time.
And number one game
of all time.
Yeah, this is
What are we talking about, people?
Oh, so what are we talking about? Oh,
Sentinels of the Multiverse.
and
hold on a sec. Whoa. You only got the one box? Hold on a sec. Here we go.
Yeah, don't even try that. Have I only got the one box? So, I have got 3 boxes. I have got your Rook City and Infernal Relics. I've got the original, and I don't have the Vengeance box anymore because it all fits into 3 boxes now, and I bought this one, which takes Vengeance and just makes it ridiculous. Right. And the amount I have spent on that Oblivion Kickstarter was ridiculous.
I went, where are you, Oblivion?
It's coming. It is coming. They are almost done, but I want them to make it right. I need this game system to work with this whole massive battle, and with the whole pretty much copying the Infinity War thing. I love the new cards that they're coming out with, especially after the ones that I've got promo falls for, and I want that box. I need that collector's box to work because it will just be a great storage system. But I went mad. I bought like the signed copies and like canvas print as well. I want that on my wall, on my gaming wall. I just went mad for this. But yeah, I can't say I think people have heard me rave about this all the time. The ultimate superhero co-op. We've said Marvel Legendary, we've said those ones which are based on IPs. This is not based on an IP. This is totally original heroes, even though they are parodying a lot of DC and things. I mean, you've got the Bunker, who's basically Iron Man, Legacy, who's basically Superman, and stuff like that. But they're original, they work, and the others were deck builders. This gives you your own deck. So, you take your team of 4 superheroes, you go up against 1 villain, and you fight in an environment. Everything has a deck. The villain deck, the environment deck, and each hero with their own deck. You don't deck build it, it's pre-built for your character. So I'm playing, I'm playing Bunker or something, and I have a deck that gives me loads of different gun modes and the shields and drawing cards. If I play Ra, the Sun God or something, then I am just burning everything in sight. Each of the heroes has got their own way to play, their own style, their own complexity level, so I can say, oh, you're a complete beginner at this. Right, tell me your favorite superhero. They go, The Flash. Right, fine, Tachyon, here you go, there's your deck. And it just works perfectly, but no other co-op game makes me feel like a proper superhero team than Sentinels does, because you cannot have a Lone Ranger. You have to work together. Some of those villains are stupidly hard, and I get what you're saying, because you mentioned Xeon's End with the tracking. You do have a lot to track in this game. It
is horrible when it comes to the tracking.
It is, and
they have an app to help you with the tracking, and who cares?
I mean, the app kind of helps with the tracking, but definitely it takes a little bit. I've played the game so much now. The app for this is brilliant. The actual proper video game one, absolutely brilliant. With like a soundtrack and animations and everything. But even just playing the card game, you can use the hit point tokens, but you just use the app to control like who's got the highest and lowest and whatever. It takes a bit of learning. I've just gotten used to it, so I do not deny that this isn't for everybody, and it has a slight barrier to entry for the tracking. But it also depends on which boss you're fighting. You fight the easier bosses, it's not that difficult to track what they're doing. You play some of the expansion bosses, they get harder, but by then you're used to the game.
And the environments. I think the environments cause more tracking than the bosses.
Possibly, yeah, but I do like the way that they completely changed the face of the game. It's very much different for me to do thematic game of I'm going to fight the chairman, gangland boss in Rook City. It's more thematic. But then you chop and change it. It's like, right, now we're somehow fighting on, in a prison block or Dinosaur Island or something like that. And suddenly it's like, okay, first off, how did they get here? But secondly, you just have it. And combinations, variety, everyone complains about the artwork. Why? Okay, yeah, it's not super photorealistic. It's meant to look like a comic strip. It does that. It looks just like something, like a 10-year-old would get in the 1950s or something, comic strip. And just can't get enough of it. I love superheroes as a theme. That helps as an IP. But I just cannot say enough good things about Sentinels of the Multiverse. Not for everybody, and I know a few people locally that hate the game with a passion. It's going to happen, but this one hit number 1. And Gloomhaven didn't.
It's the tracking. the game has massive warts. Like it's a lot to track. It's a lot of, when you have this game laid out, excuse me, it's a lot of table space just for a quote unquote card game. Because there's tokens and there's all sorts of stuff over there. And there's all sorts of things to, this person's immune, that person's immune. I said it was great for ENGN to not have that. Yes, this is here. And it's hard for me to get this game out to the table. It's very niche-y in terms of the people that can play it with. But what Luke was saying about no game makes me feel immersed in a awesome theme with mechanical kind of stuff. Like I feel smart with the combos and everything. So like when I pull off a cool combo and I do 45 damage in a turn, and it's so satisfying. It is not the number one co-op ever, but heck with it.
Yeah, we love it enough.
It deserves to be up here. And I want to give a special shout out. This box is actually not full of official content. This is Matthew Bishop did the fan expansion called The Cauldron. This is about, 16 different heroes, 7 different villains and some environments over there. Brand new, just all different decks. And if you go on the Sentinels of Multiverse forum, there are tons of people that make tons of custom stuff for it. So you are not lacking. You are not lacking for content.
That is where I've drawn the line, actually. I've not actually delved into the Cauldron stuff, mainly because I don't tend to go for a lot of fan-made content anyway. And it's not like I haven't got more combinations in this box to use anyway. It's enough in there as it is. But definitely got those condiments.
I played it enough where I reached out and I tried it. It is top-notch stuff. I can really recommend the Cauldron. And it got blessed, quote-unquote, blessed by Christopher Bedell. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but you liked it.
He liked it and he said, okay, well, go ahead and do this on Printer Studio, I think it is, and we won't bother you or anything. So if he says that their decks are working, they're good, I'm good with that too.
Yeah.
So that was our number one game, Sentinels of Multiverse. That was
validation.
That was 100 co-ops. All right. I really hope you enjoyed that. That was so much fun to do with Luke. Go ahead and listen to the feed, or go ahead and pop over to the YouTube channel to check out all of those games. Not only do we do our top 100, we did another video where we put on games that missed our list. So you're going to get a ton of, despite what Anthony is saying, pretty good darn co-ops.
Hey, I'm sure the top 30 or 40 are great.
My number 100 was Mice and Mystics.
Well, yeah, but we have well-documented proof that you don't think highly of Mice and Mystics, so that's not really saying anything.
It's still a good game. I just think
I know.
It just don't see that. I mean, it's not worthy of the hype, put it that way. It doesn't mean it's not good.
All right, we go down that path again. We had a whole argument about this 4 months ago.
There you go. Well, we hope you enjoyed it. That's isn't that the point of these top 10 lists, to kind of have little arguments and have Anthony knock me off my chair with some of his picks. So we hope you enjoyed that. Those are dueling top 10s. Hopefully that's enough to fill. Well, it's funny that could have been our stocking stuffer episode, but nope. Middle of the summer. There you go. Boom.
It's Christmas in mid to late June.
There you go. Boom.
All right, guys. So that's everything for this episode. Make sure you check out Every Night is Game Night on Facebook, as well as Twitter at ENGN_podcast. You can catch all the episodes on the website at everynightisgamenight.com. We're also in the Facebook group, the Solo Board Gaming group. You can check us out there. We're in there all the time, commenting and communicating with all the people in the solo board gaming community. But until next time, that's going to go ahead and be everything. So go ahead and grab a solo game off the shelf, and let's make every night game night.
Later, everybody.